We've ended up at another live event.
Seems so.
Yeah, Fintech Daydreaming just keeps going higher and higher.
Yeah, indeed. And again, doing this live with this professional equipment in front of us is fantastic.
And professional people.
Oh yeah, that's questionable. Well, we'll see about that.
We want to sort of call ourselves professionals as well. Fintech Daydreaming has always been professional.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yes.
From day one.
I mean, we are the number one fintech podcast in
The Nordics.
The Nordics.
Yes.
And in the top 10 in Europe.
Yes, we are. And I think somebody ranked us like number 4 for open banking podcast in the world. So again, I don't know if we're an open banking podcast, but I'll take it anyway.
No, but we're Fintech Daydreaming. That's who we are. And we're not here alone. I'm Paul Krogdahl.
I'm Ville Sointu.
We are Fintech Daydreaming, and we're going to host this stage all morning with a whole load of fantastic guests. And we're starting with our first guest here. So welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to just share for our many listeners here and the ones that are going to follow on later on the recording, who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me, guys. John Paul Clothier. I lead European sales for Pismo. Pismo is a Visa organisation, a fully owned Visa subsidiary, and we provide issuer processing and core banking globally. So a global platform operating in the cloud, servicing a whole range of segments, financial institutions, etc., and growing incredibly quickly. So yeah, really looking forward to having the opportunity of joining this event and obviously talking with you guys.
Interesting. We were at the Visa booth earlier today.
Okay.
So, by the way, excellent merch. I really appreciate that. But one of the conversations we had was that what is Pismo?
Of course.
And then I said, well, is it like an issuer processor? Is it like Enfuse? And that's no, not really. But kinda, but
Yep.
Not really, but kinda. And is it like a card management suite? Is it a platform? Is it a service? And they couldn't answer me. So maybe you can now clarify.
Absolutely, yeah, and thank you for asking. And it causes a lot of complications sometimes with regards to what Pismo is.
Yeah.
So yes, we are an issuer processor. So we provide technology. We're not a regulated entity, but we provide technology for issuers, banks, financial institutions to process their cards on our platform.
Right.
However, and we are unique in this, we've expanded into core banking as well. So we've expanded our presence and our technology to enable core banking as well. And what does that mean? That means processing accounts, products, savings, current accounts, lending accounts on a single platform. And we're unique because we're only technology that kind of consolidates all those services onto a single solution.
Okay.
And we're expanding very, very quickly. So we're growing our capabilities, predominantly led by our clients as they say, look, we love your technology. Can you provide more services and more coverage? And we go geographically, we're expanding incredibly quickly as well, obviously with the advantage of having the Visa brand behind us.
Yeah, so the Visa acquisition happened a year ago?
Just over 2 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
Just over 2 years ago, yeah, absolutely. And it's a bit of a departure from Visa as a payments organisation because obviously as an issuer processor, we sit very comfortably within that Visa brand. But again, to double down on that core banking perspective, Visa's a payments organisation traditionally. They're now expanding their capabilities into other financial services as well. And we're certainly we're becoming an enabler for a whole range of other Visa services around the Pismo platform.
I'd like to unbox that a little bit. Core banking has become such a saturated market. There are so many legacy core banking providers. There's a whole load of new cloud native ones popping up on an ongoing basis.
Of course.
So what do you see as being your unique differentiator in this saturated market space?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I mean I've worked in financial services for almost 30 years. I know that may surprise you. Traditionally supporting very old legacy technology based in heavy-duty mainframes, COBOL code, etc. And they've all been intertwined with that wider ecosystem within a bank. What the new players are bringing is bringing that cloud enablement. Now, what a lot of organisations have done is taking technology and made it cloud native. Pismo was born in the cloud, and we're very proud of that. Now, what we believe sets us aside is the fact that we have global coverage. So we only operate as software as a service. For us, that means hosted within AWS. We have very strong partnerships with AWS. However, we are on a journey to become cloud agnostic. And I will say, and some of my Visa colleagues never like this, whilst we are a Visa organisation, we are scheme agnostic as well. So we also support both the other guys, but also domestic schemes as we expand globally. Back to my earlier point, we're a single platform. So we go a lot of where we're hosted, whether we're hosted within Europe or Asia, India, South America. We have a single instance of code. Now, why is that important? It's because that all our investment goes into that single instance of code that's freely available to all of our clients globally. So when we are doing enhancements to service Australia or a new use case in Brazil, it means that when we make that features, those enhancements available, they're available to our global community. So not only are we making sure that our clients are operating on a stable and compliant platform, but they're always benefiting from the investment that Visa's putting into the Pismo solution to make sure that we're ahead of the game in terms of roadmap, etc.
So I want to double down a little bit on the Visa kind of collaboration. So what are the synergies for being with Visa? I mean, you mentioned that you want to be scheme agnostic, even though the Visa doesn't like it. So it sounds like it's not a perfect synergy all the time. But again, what are the benefits and downsides maybe of Visa?
Visa's looking to broaden its horizons beyond just payments, and there's a lot more products and services provided by Visa that are scheme agnostic deliberately. They've branched out into instant payments, AI agentic, stablecoin, etc. Now, the Pismo affinity is the fact that we recognise that we want to simplify ecosystems. Too many banks have got such a complex IT landscape. Every time there's a new compliance change, or every time they need to make an enhancement, it consumes their budget overnight. We hear quite a lot that our IT budget disappears in the first quarter because it focuses on compliance and keeping the lights on. So if you simplify your IT estate into a single solution, which would be, in this case, a Pismo solution, then we need to be able to support multiple use cases. There's no point saying you can consolidate everything other than what's not Visa, because that means complexity, etc. So that's kind of the journey that we're on. In addition to that, we have good affinity with Visa because a byproduct of the acquisition is that we're seen as an enabler to some of the other Visa products and services that are being innovated. Visa have great products that are being released, Flex Credential, for example, single credential, multiple use cases. The challenge is whenever they're releasing new technology, new products, they have to integrate to a processor or a partner. That brings cost, it brings time, slows up the whole process. Whereas what they're doing with Pismo is that we're all pre-integrated. So when clients do want to consume some of these additional services, if it's going to be expensive to do with their current vendors, then Pismo is a great enabler to enable those things to happen as well. And again, just to double down on that broadening the horizons in core banking as well. Yeah. Our CEO, Ryan, describes incredibly well about why they bought Pismo. Two use cases. Firstly, the tier one clients of Visa have all talked about modernising core banking, but the ability to do that, the platform and the partner that they can trust in, it's always been a challenge. They can trust in Visa, and Visa can deliver that. The second point is working with fintechs that want to go live in their domestic market, but then want to expand very quickly globally. You need a platform that can support your aspirations to go into new markets, not only with the breadth, obviously with localization and regulatory requirements as well. That's why the Visa bought Pismo, to enable both of those use cases to be addressed.
As a podcast, we tend to try and be very gentle and kind, but I'm actually going to push back a little bit. One of the things that historically we've seen in banking is an issue where banks historically have relied on one vendor, one vertical product stack, one provider, and suddenly they realize vendor lock-in, they are stuck to the roadmap of that vendor, they can't easily differentiate. You're here saying, we want to convince the banks to go to a single vendor solution, tie them into a full vertical Visa stack.
Yep.
Doesn't that go against everything that we're trying to move towards of an ecosystem and best of breed capabilities?
In some cases it can, but I think that the way we position Pismo is we're technology first. So firstly, our roadmap, our development priorities, our enhancements, they are client-led. So clients constantly contributing, steering us in different directions. We have a global client that selected Pismo for a service that at the time we didn't do. We built that, they like the technology, we built that capability specifically to serve that client. It's now gone live, and they're going to roll that across another 70 plus markets globally. Back to the ethos, because we built that for one client, it's available to the wider client community as well. And that's kind of it's always client-led. Second point in terms of the Visa locking, Visa's a trusted brand. Visa has huge relationships with
So is Temenos and Pinnacle
Visa
and
has
FIS.
huge long-standing relationships with its client base.
Yeah.
They can't afford to fail, and I think that's an important thing. And again, working within this industry for so many years, there's been so many projects that have failed, or fell over, or gone over budget, or gone over time, where you're trying to transition legacy estate over to modern. We have proof points now. We've done that. We've got over 200 million accounts processing on the Pismo platform. And our success for a company that's still relatively young, we've only been around for 10 years, our success is based on the fact that we can migrate clients seamlessly. Now, they're never frictionless experiences. We're not taking all the pain away. But again, there's a global organisation. We're using our global expertise to make sure we can enable that and make that happen. I think final point in terms of locking, we're a tech company. Again, I'm going to double down on that. Once a client goes live on our technology, they have full configurations, all control over APIs. They're not dependent on us to support them to launch new products, new features. We just focused on the technology and focused on the uptime, and equally as important, focus on compliance. Those pesky regulations that are constantly changing, including those scheme regulations, if I'm perfectly honest.
But are you building an ecosystem of partners around the capabilities, or are you trying to build everything yourself?
No, not at all. Not at all. We focus on Pismo as the tech. We call it the headless core. It's not a term that I particularly like, if I'm honest. But we find that it's something it's not perfect for every client, because some clients want that ecosystem from one vendor. But we believe that a headless core enables optionality. We do have a range of partners that we work with, both system integrating partners, but also partners in that wider ecospace, whether it's in the channel, whether it's CRM, whether it's onboarding, we can integrate. But we don't want to constrain our clients from selecting best of breed outside of the Pismo platform. So that's where we can integrate relatively seamlessly. Yeah. I think we've probably got about 180 plus different tech partners that we integrate to today.
I want to circle back to what you mentioned there earlier, which was that Visa is a trusted brand. Now that's very true. I mean, we've all been using Visa products for a very long time. But it's also an American brand.
Of course.
And there's a lot of discussion now in the geopolitical landscape about the European strategic autonomy now that we're in Europe, and of course payment sovereignty and all these things. And then we have the likes of the ECB building a digital euro, basically to counter the dominance of non-European payment schemes.
Of course.
So, do you encounter this discussion? I mean, there's this kind of a political kind of angle to many of your discussions in Europe these days, or how does it go?
You may be surprised that only over the last 2 years has this become an issue.
Yeah.
And it's an observation, and I won't talk from a Visa perspective, if you allow me. Let me focus on Pismo, because obviously Visa has a broader approach to how they address this. But from a European perspective, we're hosted within Europe. We comply to all EU regulations in the markets that we operate in. No customer data leaves the shore. And equally, where there are markets where we have to host locally, so for Turkey, for example, we are supported to go into that market and make sure we can meet some of those requirements as well. But without dodging the question, we recognise that sovereignty is becoming more of an issue. We want to make sure that we have the technology to support our clients to make sure, and again, back to whenever we go into a new region, that we have to localise, whether it's payment networks, whether there's a domestic scheme that may be in operation. And, a lot of these domestic schemes got phased out 10, 15 years ago for various reasons. They are now being introduced again. We want to make sure we provide technology to kind of support that.
Yeah. Then coming back to your typical customers, maybe. So we discussed about you want to be this kind of one-stop shop for these banks, but doesn't that also limit the types of banks you would service? I mean, I would guess that you're more focused on the smaller and medium-sized banks than the large global banks, and how do you see this picture?
Funnily enough, we don't kind of limit or constrain the clients that we work with. So in actual fact, we work with tier one banks. We have the largest bank in Brazil. The global bank that I talked to earlier, who we built some of our services out, they're top 10 global bank as well. We've just signed a core banking deal within the US for one of the top 3 US banks. So we work with tier ones. We only started our European journey about 18 months ago, following the Visa acquisition. Pismo originated in Brazil, South America, and was very successful in expanding globally, but deliberately didn't target Europe. Complex, competitive market. Are European financial institutes going to buy out of Brazil? Probably unlikely. However, since Visa acquired Pismo, there's been huge acceleration into Europe over the last 18 months. We've now got over, I think it's almost 13 clients signed on the Pismo platform. And the nice thing is none of those clients are alike. So we have a stablecoin issuer, Pismo's first stablecoin issuer that went live last month. We have fintechs, startups issuing credit cards. We have digital banks that literally signed up to us, one of the first digital banks in the Nordics as well. We have tier one clients that are taking us for a specific use case. One of the conversations I've had over the last 18 months as I've gone around with my Visa colleagues is tier one banks, tier two banks, talking about Revolut, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
You know, Revolut are entering our market, they're stealing our client base, they're eating our cake. We can't support some of the services that Revolut provide. Now, whether it's multi-currency, whether it's specific products, or whether it's the customer experience that Revolut are giving that the tier one banks can't do. And we always talk about the fact that we can support those use cases very narrow. I talked about earlier that we're very broad in issuer processing and core banking, but the beauty of our platform is you can implement it in a very narrow fashion. So it's not unusual for clients to consume Pismo for a specific use case, but then fairly quickly expand its use of the Pismo platform. And that's kind of where we're getting growth incredibly quickly. And we're very proud of that approach as well.
Excellent.
We've run out of time,
Excellent.
but as a parting statement, what would you like everybody to remember as you walk off?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that it's a very competitive market that we operate in. There's constantly new organisations offering either issuer processing or core banking. We have the best technology available. As I said, we're not cloud native, we were born in the cloud. And we're supported by a huge brand that is putting huge investment into our solution. We will work with any clients to make sure that we can support their requirements, their strategies, whether it's local or global. And again, we can expand the offering in terms of what services they provide as well. And I guess specifically to fintech, you know, we're expanding our capabilities very, very quickly to service this market.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining
Thank you.
us. Thank you very much.